You know Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, the names that echo through every corner of basketball history. But what about the NBA legends who changed the game long before them, or quietly dominated but slipped through the cracks? Today, we're bringing those forgotten giants back into the spotlight. Get ready to meet every NBA legend you need to know and discover the stories the highlight reels never told.
Earl the Pearl Monroe, the original showman. Back in the 1960s and 70s, Earl Monroe wasn't just a player, he was a spectacle. Known as the Pearl, Monroe brought street ball flair into the NBA before flashy handles were cool. His crossovers and behind-the-back moves dazzled fans and terrified defenders. Earl's style wasn't just for show, it was deadly effective. Drafted in 1967 by the Baltimore Bullets, he quickly became a star, averaging over 20 points per game for most of his career. But it wasn't just scoring. Monroe had a basketball IQ that made him one of the best playmakers of his time. He won an NBA championship with the New York Knicks in 1973, a team still remembered for its toughness and heart. Yet, Earl Monroe's name isn't shouted as loudly as others from his era. Why? Because his era was stacked with legends like Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, and Earl's flashy style sometimes made purists overlook his impact. But ask any true basketball fan, and Monroe's influence is clear. He paved the way for the modern guard, mixing creativity with killer scoring. Without the Pearl, players like Allen Iverson or even Stephen Curry might not have had a blueprint.
Connie Hawkins, the prodigy who got banned too soon. Connie Hawkins was basketball royalty before the NBA wholly embraced him. With his smooth, high-flying game, Hawkins was a star in the street courts of Harlem before exploding in college in the ABA. He had moves that looked decades ahead of his time, spinning dunks, quick handles, and an unstoppable mid-range game. But here's the tragedy. Hawkins was banned from the NBA for years because of a scandal he wasn't even involved in. While he never faced criminal charges, the league blacklisted him, keeping him away from the NBA spotlight at his prime. This ban cost him years of NBA stardom and robbed the league of what could have been a legendary career. Finally, Hawkins made it to the NBA in 1969 with the Phoenix Suns and instantly showed his talent. He won the 1970 NBA All-Star Game MVP and dazzled Suns fans with his creativity. Though his NBA career was short compared to his talent, Hawkins left a legacy of resilience. Today, he's remembered as one of the greatest players never to have his full prime in the NBA. A reminder of how the league's past mistakes shadowed incredible talent.
Nate Tiny Archibald, the smallest giant ever. They called him Tiny, but Nate Archibald was anything but small on the court. Standing just 6 feet tall, Archibald was lightning fast and had a killer scoring instinct. In the 1972-73 season, he did something no one else has done. He led the entire NBA in both points and assists per game. That means he was not just scoring buckets, but also setting up his teammates better than anyone else. Tiny's quickness made defenders dizzy, and his fearless drives to the hoop were legendary. He played for the Cincinnati Royals, Kansas City Kings, and Boston Celtics, winning a championship with the Celtics in 1981. But for all his skills and records, Archibald's name often slips past casual fans. Why? Because his prime was during the 70s, a decade full of chaos and overshadowed by bigger stars. Still, any true basketball fan knows Tiny was one of the toughest guards to ever lace up.
Remember, every legend has a story. It's time to make sure they're never forgotten again.
Bob Pettit, the original big man superstar. Before Shaq or Kareem, there was Bob Pettit. A pioneer of the power forward role, Pettit dominated the NBA in the 1950s. He was the first player to score over 20,000 points in his career and was named NBA MVP twice. Pettit wasn't just a scorer. He was tough as nails, played aggressive defense, and led the St. Louis Hawks to the NBA Finals multiple times, even winning the championship in 1958 by beating the Boston Celtics. His rivalry with Celtics legends like Bill Russell defined the early NBA. Pettit set the blueprint for what a dominant big man could be: strong, skillful, and a leader. But today, his name is rarely mentioned outside history books.
Wes Unseld, the iron will of the NBA. Wes Unseld was the definition of grit and heart. A 6'7" center known for his incredible rebounding and outlet passes, he was the ultimate team player. In 1969, Unseld won both NBA Rookie of the Year and MVP, only the second player in history to do both in the same season. Unseld wasn't flashy, he wasn't the top scorer, but his impact was massive. He led the Baltimore Bullets to their only NBA title in 1978, earning Finals MVP honors. Many fans forget Unseld because his game wasn't about highlight dunks or crazy scoring. It was about hard work, smart play, and leadership. But anyone who watched him knew he was the heart and soul of his team.
Dolph Schayes, the scoring machine of the 50s. Before the NBA had big TV deals or massive arenas, Dolph Schayes was lighting it up. Playing in the 1950s, Schayes was one of the league's top scorers and rebounders. He averaged over 20 points per game for most of his career and was an 11-time All-Star. Known for his deadly hook shot and strong rebounding, Dolph led the Syracuse Nationals to the 1955 NBA championship. His tough physical style set the stage for future big men. Despite his dominance, modern fans barely hear his name, lost to time but never forgotten by true basketball historians.
And if you want more deep dives into NBA history, hidden stories, and legendary players you need to know, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because this journey through basketball's past is just getting started.
Nate Thurmond was a monster on defense. Standing 6'11", he could guard every position and was famous for his shot blocking. Thurmond was the first NBA player to record a quadruple-double, a mind-blowing stat that shows his all-around dominance. Playing mostly for the San Francisco Golden State Warriors, he was a force on both ends of the floor. Though he never won a championship, his defensive legacy lives on, influencing players like Dwight Howard and Rudy Gobert.
Paul Arizin, the original scoring pioneer. Paul Arizin was a scoring star in the 1950s who could shoot from anywhere. Playing for the Philadelphia Warriors, Arizin was known for his smooth jump shot and incredible scoring ability. He was a 10-time All-Star and won an NBA title in 1956. Arizin played during an era when the game was slower and more physical, but he brought a style that looked ahead of his time. Even though his name is rarely mentioned today, his impact helped shape the way forwards play today.
Tom Heinsohn, Celtics legend with rings for days. Tom Heinsohn was more than just a player. He was a Celtics icon. He won 8 NBA championships as a player and coach combined, one of the greatest in league history. Heinsohn's scoring and leadership helped Boston dominate the late 50s and 60s. Known for his fierce competitiveness, Tom played alongside legends like Bill Russell and Bob Cousy. Though his name doesn't pop up as often as others, Heinsohn shaped the Celtics' winning culture and later became a beloved broadcaster, bringing the game alive for generations. Which forgotten legend shocked you the most? Drop your pick in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going. If you learned something new today, smash that like button and share this with every true basketball fan you know. Earl the Pearl Monroe, the street ball legend. Wait, didn't we already talk about Earl Monroe? Yes, but here's a deeper look. Monroe wasn't just flashy.
He changed how guards play forever. Coming from Baltimore's tough streets, he brought that raw, creative energy into the NBA, mixing showmanship with serious skill. His partnership with Walt Frazier on the Knicks formed one of the best backcourts ever, leading to the 1973 championship. Monroe's impact is still felt today in every ankle-breaking crossover and slick move you see.
Connie Hawkins, the high-flying pioneer. And again, a little more on Connie Hawkins. Despite his early ban, Hawkins' influence on the game was huge. He was a forerunner of the modern dunker and ball handler, dazzling crowds before the NBA truly embraced athleticism. His story is one of talent and tragedy, a reminder that the league's history isn't always fair, but always fascinating.
Nate Tiny Archibald, the smallest giant ever. Known as Tiny, Nate Archibald stood only 6 feet tall, but played with the heart and speed of a giant. In the 1972-73 season, he did something no other player has done, led the league in both points and assists per game. This means he was not only scoring, but also creating plays better than anyone else that year. He played for the Cincinnati Royals, Kansas City Kings, and Boston Celtics, winning a championship with the Celtics in 1981. Though his skills and records were incredible, Archibald often gets overlooked because he played in a hectic era with many stars.
Bob Pettit, the original power forward. Bob Pettit was the NBA's first true superstar big man, dominating in the 1950s. He was the first player to score over 20,000 points and earned 2 MVP awards. His physical toughness and scoring ability led the St. Louis Hawks to multiple finals and the 1958 NBA title. Pettit's rivalry with Bill Russell defined early NBA basketball, setting the standard for future big men. But today, many forget how big Pettit's impact really was.
Wes Unseld, the heart and soul. Wes Unseld wasn't flashy, but his grit was unmatched. Standing 6'7", he was a rebounding machine and a smart passer. In 1969, Unseld won both Rookie of the Year and MVP, only the second player ever to do so in the same season. He led the Baltimore Bullets to their only NBA championship in 1978 and earned Finals MVP. Unseld's leadership and toughness made him the ultimate team player, even if he rarely made highlight reels.
Earl Monroe, the original showman. Earl the Pearl Monroe brought a style to the NBA no one had seen before. He dazzled with flashy dribbling, behind-the-back passes, and crazy creativity. Playing in the 60s and 70s, Monroe was a true entertainer, but also a deadly scorer and playmaker. Though overshadowed by bigger stars, Monroe helped lead the New York Knicks to the 1973 NBA championship. His influence is seen today in every guard who crosses up defenders and plays with flair.
Maurice Stokes, the tragedy that changed the league forever. Before Magic and Bird, before Oscar and Jerry, there was Maurice Stokes, a 6'7" phenom built like a modern-day power forward, but with the court vision of a point guard. Drafted in 1955 by the Rochester Royals, Stokes made an instant impact. In just his rookie season, he averaged 16.8 points and a jaw-dropping 16.3 rebounds per game. But it didn't stop there. By year 3, he was averaging nearly 18 points, 18 rebounds, and 6 assists. And this was before big men passed the rock. People back then called him the LeBron before LeBron. Strong, fast, smart, and unselfish. But then, tragedy struck. In the final game of the 1958 season, Stokes hit his head on the hardwood. Days later, on a team flight, he collapsed. He had suffered a traumatic brain injury that left him permanently paralyzed. The NBA world was devastated, but one man stepped up. His teammate, Jack Twyman, legally adopted Stokes and took care of him for the rest of his life. Their friendship became so iconic, the NBA named the Twyman-Stokes Teammate of the Year award in their honor. Maurice's career ended too soon, but his story redefined what brotherhood means in the NBA. And his game? That was generational. If he had stayed healthy, you wouldn't be asking, "Who's Maurice Stokes?" You'd be asking, "Why isn't he in the GOAT conversation?"
Sidney Moncrief wasn't flashy, but he was the nightmare every superstar feared. The defender so good, the NBA had to create an award for him.
Sidney Moncrief was the Milwaukee Bucks engine in the 1980s, redefining perimeter defense. At just 6'4", he frustrated legends like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and even a young Michael Jordan. Bird himself admitted Moncrief was the toughest defender he ever faced. A 5-time All-Star and the very first Defensive Player of the Year in 1983, he defended his crown again in 1984. But he wasn't just defense. He averaged over 20 points per game for 4 straight seasons, leading Milwaukee deep into the playoffs. Despite all this, injuries and a small market buried his legacy, leaving him one of the greatest forgotten legends in NBA history.
Bernard King, a forgotten scoring machine. The man who dropped 60 on Christmas Day, yet never got the recognition his legendary talent truly deserved.
Bernard King was pure buckets. In the 1980s, he was nearly unstoppable, averaging over 26 points per game during his prime. In 1984, he became a New York Knicks legend by scoring back-to-back 40-point games against the Pistons in the playoffs, nearly dragging his team to victory while battling injuries. His most famous moment came on Christmas Day in 1984, when he exploded for 60 points, still one of the greatest holiday performances ever. But constant knee injuries robbed him of his prime, leaving fans wondering what more he could have accomplished. King was greatness, just never fully appreciated.
Alex English, one of the smoothest scorers in NBA history, yet a Hall of Famer many fans barely remember despite his incredible consistency.
Alex English was a scoring machine for the Denver Nuggets in the 1980s, averaging over 21 points per game for more than a decade. Known for his silky jump shot and quiet efficiency, he led the league in scoring in 1983 and became the Nuggets' all-time leading scorer. English wasn't flashy, didn't court the spotlight, but his consistency was unmatched. He scored over 20,000 career points without ever being a household name outside Denver. His understated style and team-first mentality made him a forgotten legend. For fans who love smooth scoring and basketball IQ, Alex English remains one of the most underrated stars ever.
Mark Price, a deadly shooter with pinpoint accuracy, revolutionized the point guard role, yet too often, his brilliance fades from conversations about all-time greats.
Mark Price was the engine of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the late 1980s and early 1990s, known for his exceptional shooting, basketball IQ, and calm leadership. A 4-time All-Star, he consistently ranked among the league leaders in free throw and three-point percentage, hitting over 90% from the line in multiple seasons. Price's style wasn't flashy, but his efficiency and precision made him a nightmare for defenses. Despite his accolades, including helping the Cavs reach the playoffs repeatedly, he rarely gets the recognition he deserves. Mark Price's legacy is one of smooth execution, clutch shooting, and a quiet mastery of the game.
Chris Mullin, a silky smooth scorer, sharp shooting legend, yet somehow overshadowed by bigger names, even though his talent and consistency were Hall of Fame caliber. Chris Mullin was the face of the Golden State Warriors in the late 1980s and early 1990s, known for his pure shooting stroke and high basketball IQ. A five-time All-Star, Mullin could score from anywhere on the floor and was deadly from beyond the arc. He played with relentless precision, averaging over 20 points per game during his peak. Yet his quiet demeanor often kept him out of the spotlight. Mullin's skill set made him a constant threat, earning him Olympic gold with the 1992 Dream Team. Despite his impact, his name often gets lost in discussions of the era's top stars.
Dennis Johnson, a lockdown defender, clutch performer, and NBA champion. Yet his brilliance was often overshadowed by flashier teammates and superstar storylines.
Dennis Johnson was the ultimate two-way guard, excelling on both ends of the floor for the Seattle Supersonics and later the Boston Celtics. Known as DJ, he earned 5 All-Star selections and 3 NBA titles, cementing his reputation as a clutch performer. Johnson could take over games with timely steals, lockdown defense, and efficient scoring, often shining brightest in the playoffs. Despite his accolades, his quiet leadership and team-first mentality kept him from becoming a household name. Johnson's influence extended beyond stats. He elevated everyone around him, embodying the kind of player coaches dream of, a true, forgotten legend of the NBA.
Rolando Blackman, a smooth scorer and steady leader. Yet, despite his skills, he never got the spotlight he deserved in the 1980s NBA. Rolando Blackman was a 4-time All-Star who anchored the Dallas Mavericks offense during the 1980s. Known for his mid-range jumper, footwork, and basketball IQ, Blackman could carry his team on scoring nights while still being a dependable teammate. He played 13 seasons in the NBA, averaging over 17 points per game across his career, and often kept Dallas competitive against top-tier teams. Despite consistent production and clutch performances, his quiet demeanor meant he rarely received media attention or national recognition. Blackman's legacy is that of a skilled, underappreciated scorer whose professionalism and consistency made him one of the era's most reliable yet forgotten NBA stars.
Stephon Marbury, a flashy scorer with killer handles, yet his NBA career never reached the heights his talent demanded, leaving fans shocked and confused.
Stephon Marbury burst into the NBA as the 4th overall pick in 1996, immediately making a mark with his lightning-quick handles, deep shooting range, and fearless playmaking. A 2-time All-Star, Marbury carried teams like the Knicks and Timberwolves, often shouldering heavy offensive loads. Yet constant clashes with coaches, teammates, and front offices overshadowed his brilliance. Injuries and franchise instability further limited his ability to shine on the biggest stages. Despite undeniable talent, Marbury never reached the championship glory many expected. However, his story didn't end in the NBA. He became a legendary figure in China, proving his skills in leadership were world-class. Marbury's career is a mix of brilliance, controversy, and what could have been.
Penny Hardaway, a tall, smooth point guard with elite vision, yet injuries derailed a career that could have been truly historic in the NBA. Penny Hardaway entered the NBA in 1993 as the 3rd overall pick for the Orlando Magic, instantly impressing with his size, court vision, and ability to play multiple positions. Teaming with Shaquille O'Neal, he led the Magic to the 1995 Finals, dazzling fans with his flashy passes and clutch shots. However, recurring knee injuries gradually stole his explosiveness, limiting his dominance and cutting his prime short. Despite 4 All-Star selections and being considered one of the most versatile guards of the 90s, Hardaway's legacy was forever marked by what-if scenarios. His talent was undeniable, but the NBA will always wonder how far he could have gone without the injuries.
Mitch Richmond, a scoring machine and relentless competitor. Yet his quiet demeanor and team changes kept him from the superstar recognition he truly deserved.
Mitch Richmond entered the NBA as the 5th overall pick in 1988.
joining the Golden State Warriors before finding his stride with the Sacramento Kings. Known for his smooth mid-range jumpers, defensive effort, and scoring consistency, Richmond became a 6-time All-Star and one of the league's most reliable shooting guards. Despite his talent, team struggles and lack of media spotlight often overshadowed his impact. Richmond carried underperforming squads and delivered impressive stats season after season, but championship success eluded him. His quiet professionalism and scoring prowess cemented him as one of the most underrated legends of the 1990s, a Hall of Fame career that never fully matched the recognition he deserved.
Shawn Kemp, a thunderous dunker and highlight reel staple, but off-court issues and injuries turned what could have been a Hall of Fame career into what if.
Shawn Kemp entered the NBA straight out of high school in 1989 with the Seattle Supersonics, quickly establishing himself as one of the league's most explosive forwards. Known for high-flying dunks and rim-crashing athleticism, Kemp became a 6-time All-Star and led Seattle to the 1996 Finals. Yet, off-court distractions, weight concerns, and knee injuries slowly chipped away at his prime, limiting his ability to sustain dominance. Despite flashes of brilliance and unforgettable highlight reels, Kemp's career ended earlier than expected, leaving fans wondering what he might have achieved with better health and discipline. His story is a mix of talent, spectacle, and missed opportunities.
Glenn Rice, a deadly shooter with ice in his veins, yet his career was often overshadowed by bigger stars and fleeting playoff glory.
Glenn Rice entered the NBA in 1989 as the 4th overall pick, quickly establishing himself with the Miami Heat before becoming a scoring star with the Charlotte Hornets. Known for his smooth three-point shot, mid-range accuracy, and clutch performances, Rice earned 3 All-Star selections and the 1997 All-Star Game MVP. In 2000, he won an NBA championship with the Lakers, hitting crucial shots in the playoffs. Despite his scoring talent, Rice often played in the shadows of superstar teammates, which limited the recognition he received. His career remains a testament to precision shooting, consistency, and professionalism, a forgotten sharpshooter whose impact on games was undeniable.
Jermaine O'Neal, a towering presence with all-star talent, yet injuries and team struggles kept him from reaching the superstar heights many predicted for him.
Jermaine O'Neal entered the NBA as the 17th overall pick in 1996, quickly rising with the Portland Trail Blazers before truly flourishing with the Indiana Pacers. Known for his shot blocking, rebounding, and versatile scoring, O'Neal earned 6 All-Star selections and was named Most Improved Player in 2002. Despite this, chronic injuries slowed his momentum just as he approached his prime, limiting playoff success and consistent team dominance. Trades to Toronto, Miami, and Phoenix later in his career highlighted both his talent and the physical toll of the NBA. O'Neal's story reminds fans that raw skill and potential sometimes collide tragically with circumstance, leaving a legacy of what could have been.
Chris Webber, a versatile forward with unique skill set, but playoff heartbreaks and off-court drama kept him from ever reaching the championship glory he deserved.
Chris Webber entered the NBA as the 1st overall pick in 1993, joining the Orlando Magic before quickly making his mark with the Golden State Warriors and Sacramento Kings. Known for his passing, scoring, and basketball IQ, Webber transformed the Kings into a top Western Conference team in the early 2000s. Yet, despite individual brilliance, playoff disappointments and controversial moments like the 2002 Western Conference Finals Game 6 overshadowed his achievements. Injuries further chipped away at his prime, eventually leading to an early retirement. Webber's career is a testament to immense talent, flashes of brilliance, and the harsh reality that even great players can fall just short of ultimate glory.
Gilbert Arenas, a scoring machine and fearless competitor, yet
off-court controversies and injuries derailed what could have been a Hall of Fame career.
Gilbert Arenas, famously nicknamed Agent Zero, entered the NBA in 2001 with the Golden State Warriors, but found his stride in Washington with the Wizards. A three-time All-Star, Arenas was known for his scoring bursts, clutch shots, and fearless playmaking. At his peak, he averaged over 29 points per game, dominating defenses night after night. Yet injuries, particularly knee and wrist issues, combined with off-court incidents, most notably the 2009 gun controversy, cut his prime short. By his late 20s, Arenas was no longer the unstoppable force fans had loved. His story reflects raw talent, charisma, and the reality that personal decisions and injuries can drastically alter even the brightest careers.
Latrell Sprewell, a fiery scorer and lockdown defender whose incredible talent was shadowed by controversy, leaving fans to wonder what heights he truly could have reached. Latrell Sprewell burst onto the NBA scene in 1992 with the Golden State Warriors, instantly becoming one of the league's most explosive guards. Known for his athletic drives, defensive intensity, and clutch scoring, Sprewell made 3 All-Star appearances and was key in turning the Warriors into a competitive force. However, his career is often remembered for off-court incidents, most famously the 1997 choking incident with coach P.J. Carlesimo, which led to a 68-game suspension. Despite later success with the New York Knicks, injuries and inconsistency limited his prime. Sprewell's story is a mix of undeniable skill and controversy, a reminder that talent alone can't shield a player from the consequences of actions and choices.